everyone at Our Pagan Opinions. This is Kara. Welcome back. Yay! So happy to be back. Wow, we are talking about cloning, something that I don't know technically much about at all. So I'm essentially just going to talk about my feelings about it. I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope you've had a wonderful holiday season and all that good stuff. Okay, cloning. What are my feelings about cloning? Well, I'm very fascinated with science. I'm very fascinated with science. I've always been fascinated with bioengineering, biotechnology, also transhumanism, the form of transhumanism. That kind of stuff is always, just very intriguing, and I think it's just fascinating. And science to me is synonymous, in a way, with witchcraft. I mean, I think scientists and witches have a lot in common. I think they're doing a lot of the same things in totally different ways, experimenting with the elements, if you will. You know what I mean? Manipulating nature, but completely different. So, yeah, well, anyway, so I'm fascinated with it. I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome. I think a lot of good comes from science. I think a lot of crazy, I don't know. I don't like that science uses animals to experiment, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I don't like that. I do prefer, I wish that science would kind of experiment on the violent, crazy, unmistakably guilty criminals of violent nature against people. The people that everyone would agree should be condemned. That would be preferable, because the animals have to suffer for all of our science, and that sucks. So, that being said, yeah. But my heart and my gut and my soul does not like the idea of cloning at all. Like, my instinct says no. No, no. No matter how fascinated with it I am, no matter how cool I think it is, I am absolutely 100% like, completely. I'm very protective of my DNA. So on a personal level, no. On a personal level, I am very protective of my DNA. I would not, at least not my entire life so far, would I ever consider cloning. I don't even let people take my blood. I don't leave traces of myself around. Like, maybe because I was influenced negatively by the movie Gattaca, which doesn't have anything to do with cloning, but it has a lot to do with DNA and all that stuff. Yeah, so no, I'm a traditionalist. I'm a purist, if you will, when it comes to nature and the way of nature. Despite my, vast intrigue of the manipulation of nature, scientifically and magically, I'm also very kind of a hands-off, let nature be kind of person. So so yeah, no, I'm not for cloning. I'm not for blood bank harvesting, the kind of cord blood bank storing that they try to do to a lot of parents. Every parent in the hospitals, they try to convince you to cut the baby's cord early, even though the baby vitally needs their cord blood. But they trick you into thinking that, if you store this blood that's in the cord, we can use it later for diseases and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, no. I would rather give my baby all that blood and nutrients and oxygen and cells and flood her with it like she's supposed to have, and let nature give her the immunity, rather than you taking all of that in her cord blood, later storing it, and then if she gets sick because later she needed that and it affected her health, she can go back and harvest her cord blood and get a cure. Like, no. that's kind of where I'm at. Like, no. Um, I prefer to trust nature rather than dabble with mankind and trust mankind. I trust the ancient wisdom of the natural way more than I trust the experimental, whimsical, you know, follies of science. Because, science is cool, but science is also stupid in many ways too. So, cloning. No, but I mean, jokingly, I of course would love to have. I've fantasized about, having clones. And the only way I think it would be acceptable for me to have a clone or a handful of clones would be if I could completely contain it and control it completely. Like if there was nobody else had access to it, nobody else had any control to my spawns. Um, and if we were all connected to the same like mental grid, if we were all connected to the same hard drive, if you will, like if all my clones, if I could have 5 clones, okay, and go live a much richer life, and all of my clones would always, I'd experience everything that my clones would. They would all be wired back to my same soul, if you will, my same brain, my same everything. If it could all come back to the one source experiencer, the one observer, me, and all my clones could go, do my bidding, live lives that not one person can live in one lifetime, and also take care of tasks like how many, parents want to have like 5 people that could help them, So those kind of things are definitely titillating things to fantasize about. And sure, but that would be the only case that would be acceptable for me, was if it was all hardwired back to the same, motherboard, brain, soul experience kind of thing. So I wouldn't want other clones to have like their own soul, which I was watching D'Angelo, and he was talking about would they have their own soul, and that's totally debatable, because I mean man's creating life, and life is life, whether it's manipulated, cells are split, or it's naturally occurring. I mean that's who's to say if souls incarnate in manipulated, augmented, you know, just yeah, life. Who knows? That gets down to the whole spirit molecule hunt that science is on. You know what I mean? So like, who knows? So anyway, I mean, life is life. Life is life. I don't think you can have like zombie life. I mean, you can, but that gets back to a whole nother deeper science thing. I don't know. Yeah. But one thing that would be interesting, I've thought about also, is like forcing twins, you know? Uh, because twins are just basically the splitting of the cell, of the nuclei inside of you. At a certain point in time, the cell can either stay one whole or it splits. And there's like a genetic determination that splits the cell into twins or quadruplets or triplets or whatever. And if you could scientifically, which I'm sure maybe you possibly already can, if you could split the cells in utero and force twins, I mean, that's a way of cloning, and that's fascinating. And I'm just like, ooh, that's cool, but yet I wouldn't do it. I can honestly say right now, I would be like, yeah, that's cool. Hey, wow, that's good. But you go do that over there, because I'm still not okay with that with me, Like, so that's where I sit with it. I think science is fascinating. I think the things, I'm just as intrigued as any scientist to pull apart every nuclei, atom, molecule, particle, everything. I think it's all fascinating to really dive in and try to figure that out on a scientific level. But I also innately trust nature, and I deeply don't like tampering with it for personal spiritual reasons. So that's one of the only reasons why I never became a scientist, because I was definitely contemplating going in that direction, going, wow, I could really get into science, but my core doesn't agree with it. So that's where I sit with cloning. I think, yeah. All right. So blessed be everyone. It's so great to be back, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.